So, we've talked about this before, but today's episode is going to be all about my own personal transformation from being an overworked, stressed out teacher mom to a present, calm, happy small business mom. Before we get started with today's episode, I just kind of want to share my reasoning behind sharing this. And it's really just for inspirational purposes to help inspire you on your own journey and see that it is possible. I'm hoping to share with you today some tips and tricks that you can apply to your own life and to your own journey to maybe skip past some of the struggles that I had and be on your way to your dream life. How does that sound? Pretty good? Awesome. Let's dive in. So, to be honest with you, when I was a fifth grade teacher for 10 years, and after my final maternity leave, began to really struggle with sort of my mindset around work. I genuinely felt stuck. Like, that's the only way I can describe it, is I felt stuck. I had a teaching degree. I was teaching in a great school district. I was making good money. I had a decent schedule. I was good at my job. I love the kids. I just didn't love the politics, and I didn't love the parent interactions, and I didn't love, I don't know, so much goes into it, but I was just not happy anymore. And my dream life was no longer my dream life. And I truly believed that there was nothing I could do to change it. I believed I was stuck. Because of a few factors. One, the biggest factor being financial, right? But the second biggest being, like, I literally had a teaching degree. There's very little you can do with a teaching degree other than teach. So I thought. That's not actually true. And I will link in the show notes a super inspirational podcast if you are a teacher that is looking for a change. I didn't realize how many opportunities really were out there. But at the moment, in that moment, I felt stuck. So if you're curious, you can check out that link if you're a teacher mom listening to this who needs a little inspiration. So I really had this fixed mindset, right? I had a scarcity mindset. If I leave teaching, like, my family's going to be financially burdened. Like, what am I going to do? Like, what if I don't find a job? What if I get fired from the job? Like, teaching is very stable. It's very consistent. After I got tenure, it's like, you're good. You're cool for the next 35 years. And I was 32 years old at the time. And I had 32 years left to teach, and literally, like, that thought alone, like, that was sort of the deal breaker for me when I was like, yeah, no, I am 32 and I have 32 years, like, my whole lifetime left. No, can't do this anymore. Gotta get out. There are a lot of kind of moments like that just shocked me. Like, the shock factor is really what pushed me to be like, you need to change something. You need to figure it out. The other kind of huge thing that kept popping up in my brain and my heart was, would you want this for your daughters? Like, if your daughters were driving to work every day feeling this way, what would you tell them to do? What would you want them to do? And that really kind of helped to jumpstart my being open to new opportunities and really started my personal growth journey, to be honest. I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. And where do I start? And personal growth is where I decided to start. So the very first step that I actually took in this process, and again, I didn't have a coach, I didn't have a mentor, I didn't have anyone who had done this in my life to help me. And I felt like I really was, like, I remember Googling it and going on Pinterest and being like, wow, like, I can't find resources to really help me with this. I guess this was like 2018 when I was really in this process of making changes. And I felt like it was kind of up to me. So the very first thing that I did is, and what I encourage my clients to do now, is to create a dream life vision. So I took everything off the table and I was like, if I'm starting over tomorrow, if I had no plans tomorrow, like nowhere to be, no obligations, like, what would my dream life look like? What do I want for myself? What do I want for my family? What do I want for my work? What do I want work to do for me? Like, that's something I had never asked myself before because I knew what work was, right? And it was like my paycheck, and it was just something I tolerated to get my paycheck. And that's, oh my goodness, not a reason to teach. So I knew I had to get out of there. So I really took the time to create that dream life vision. Mama, don't get hung up with this. Like, I had no idea how it was going to happen. Because as much as I was like, yeah, I'm ready to make a change, I was never going to put my family in a position where we were taking a huge financial risk. Like, I just wasn't. That was never part of my plan. And my husband and I as soon as I decided we were going to make a change, we started putting safeguards in place. So we were like, okay, we need an emergency fund. Let's get started on that. Okay, we need to, like up our life insurance. Let's get started on that. We need to, XYZ. And my husband's a teacher also. So that gives you just a sense of like, it's not like he's, some big banking executive and it was like, oh, you don't really need to work. Like, no, I do need to work. That's just kind of what we need to maintain our lifestyle. And so that was all things that I needed to kind of include in my dream life. But it was honestly the first time I took a look at that transparently and thought, okay, so I need to make an income. What do I want that to look like? What would I be willing to do to make an income and to support my family and to be present with them and all of those things? So again, this is the first step that I encourage my clients to take also. Really create that dream life vision. Don't worry about the how. Don't worry about how you're going to do those things. Just worry about creating on paper what your dream life would look like. How many hours would you work? What would your income be? Like start doing some math just for curiosity's sake, just to kind of get some numbers out there. And again, you don't need to know how these things are going to happen. I created my dream life vision in January of 2018. And I had, at that time in January, had never picked up a professional camera in my life, like ever. So when people are like, oh, well, you were a photographer, so you were able to just pivot to photography. Like, no, I wasn't. I was not a photographer when I created this. I literally was a teacher mom who didn't know what else to do. And granted, like things started to fall into place after, but what was the first step? The first step was creating that dream life vision. After that, after I created the dream life, I gave myself a deadline. I told myself I was going to quit my job by June 2021. It's January 2018, June 2021. That was my password to get into my school computer. Like when you put in your username, my password was June 2021 because that's when I was going to resign. I wrote my letter. I wrote my resignation letter in January 2018 as just mental prep of like, you need to do this right now. You need to do this while you prepare, but you are leaving and you are making a change and you are going to freaking live your dream life. Sorry, I get all worked up about this. Like you are going to do these things, mama. So I started to put those things in place and then I started to take aligned action. And that is the piece that I help so many of my one-on-one clients with because that's the area where they struggle the most. Your dream life vision, you arguably could do that by yourself, sitting in a room with your notebook. You're good. It's awesome to have input from others, but you could crank that out. It's the aligned action and figuring out what's important and what's not while you're moving in this process. So that aligned action is what got me to learn how to use a camera, to learn how to have a photography business. I was a teacher. I didn't know anything about running a small business, and really getting those things off the ground. And August 2018, I launched my business. And then COVID honestly really sped things up for me. I decided to take a year off to see if my business could stand on its own 2 feet after the pandemic or during the pandemic, I guess. And the rest is history. And now I am thriving in my dream life. I have a coaching business. I have a successful photography business. I am, working the number of hours that I want to work. Always some tweaks, right? There's always something, the next milestone that you're hoping to achieve. But I still, to this day, 5 years later, I guess, look around and pinch myself and ask, is this seriously my dream life? And I look back at that 2018 version of me that was so sad and so depressed and so stuck. And I say, hang on, you could, it will get better, and it will. And I can help you do that. My resources can help you do that. I really hope that you lean into the system, mama, because I'm here to support you. And I want you here with me, living your dream life and just being able to enjoy your kids' childhoods and all of the things because you deserve that. All right, this was a very rambly episode. I hope you hung in there with me. I promise I'm not rambly all the time. So if you'd like to tune in to next week's episode, we are going to be chatting about my very favorite thing in all the world, which is personal finance. Talking money and numbers is my love language. Who knew? And I am going to be diving into what your dream life budget could look like in the future and how you can actually implement it today with no additional income, by the way. how you can get started with that and start living pieces of your dream life while you are working towards it. So thanks so much for being here, Mama, and for taking time to invest in yourself. I'm so proud of you for that. Don't forget, keep growing. The little eyes are watching, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye.